All right, hope you're all having a good Sunday. This is Philadelphia 76ers Now. I'm Chase Sr. Coming up on today's show, we have a new Damian Lillard trade update. The Sixers still interested, according to reports, and could be a part of the deal without landing Damian Lillard. I'll explain how. The 76ers said to be interested in sharpshooter Malik Beasley, who could be an outstanding addition to the Sixers bench rotation. And the Sixers last night lost Jalen McDaniels to the Toronto Raptors. A huge whiff by Daryl Morey. I'll expand on that. Before we get started, though, we're about 200 people away from 11,000 subscribers. And for those of you who have been watching the program really ever since the NBA playoffs came to a halt for Philadelphia with that listless Game 7 loss against the Celtics, we've been able to grow the channel a lot. We've been cooking up a lot of content here, even doing some live shows and entering that into the rotation. If you want more videos, more live shows, more Sixers talk, subscribe. Let's get to 11,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Let's start here with Malik Beasley. According to reports, he's drawn interest from a couple of championship and playoff contending teams. That includes the 76ers, the Phoenix Suns, Toronto Raptors, Dallas Mavericks, Milwaukee Bucks, and the Golden State Warriors. I think you can take the Suns out of the running for Beasley because they have loaded up this offseason. Of course, they made that trade for Bradley Beal, but they've pretty much filled out their entire bench over the first couple of days of free agency and just signed Eric Gordon as well. This report coming from HoopsHype, and I think that Beasley is an intriguing addition for the Sixers. He led the NBA in three-pointers made off the bench last year and is a career 37.8% shooter from downtown. And the Sixers have already lost some offense from the bench. George Niang to the Cleveland Cavaliers, Shake Milton to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They lost McDaniels as well. He was more so of a defender, but Beasley's only 26 years old, has spent time with the Jazz and Lakers last season, averaged nearly 13 points per game, 35.7% from three-point range. Can't really create off the dribble, but on this team currently, you don't really need him to do that. Ramped up his three-point volume in his career in 2020-2021 with Minnesota when he actually averaged, on a bad team, so the number's a little bit inflated, but 19.5 points per game on nearly 9 three-point attempts per game as well. So he's remained pretty effective from long range, and that's where he can make a lot of his impact. And given the Sixers' stylistic play on the offensive end of the floor, it's to be determined what it's exactly going to be with Nick Nurse, but around Joel Embiid, you want three-point shooters. With Tyrese Maxey, obviously it helps him spacing the floor on some of those dribble drives to have a guy who can knock down some threes, and coming in off the bench, you need to add to your depth. The Sixers were able to do that with Patrick Beverley, and I like this signing because for so long, the Sixers have not had a legitimate backup point guard. Beverley can at the very least be that. We know that he's going to be a guy who's going to pick up defensively 94 feet. That's in his Twitter bio. He is so Philadelphia it hurts with the bulldog mentality, talking shit, his toughness, his fearlessness. He has had a dip shooting the three-point shot over the last couple of years, but with him signing on the vet min, if Beverley can improve on that three-point shot, then that contract becomes a bargain deal for the Sixers. And if you add Malik Beasley right now, I'm skeptical about this bench unit for the Sixers roster. You add him into the equation, though, and I start to get a little bit more confident in some of those substitutions and the substitution patterns that Nick Nurse can go with here. Let's talk about Jalen McDaniels. So Shams Charania broke the news last night that he has agreed to a 2-year, $9.3 million deal with the Toronto Raptors. I thought it was odd how he fell out of the playoff rotation for Doc Rivers. That may have been a reason why he wanted to go somewhere else, but Nick Nurse is in here. He seems like kind of a Nick Nurse type of player. Long, active, really solid defender. I thought that he flashed at times with the Sixers. Remember, he was in that closing five when the Sixers had that massive comeback win against the Milwaukee Bucks. And I'm like, man, this guy, he can give you some juice, and they lose him for nothing. And you think about what they gave up for McDaniels. The Sixers traded Matisse Thybulle and what became the 34th pick in this year's NBA draft, and the Sixers didn't make a pick in this draft for the first time in more than 70 years, for 24 pretty much insignificant regular season games and no playoff contributions from Jalen McDaniels, because if you remember, Doc Rivers went with Daniel House in that playoff rotation over Jalen McDaniels. So you made that move just in part to avoid the luxury tax, but you gave up Matisse Thybulle and what became the 34th pick for a player who played 24 games and barely played at all throughout the NBA playoffs. Like, that right there is a miss from Daryl Morey. A high second-round pick in which maybe you could have gotten a player that's a part of this rotation, a rotation now that we're worried about because the depth is not good on this team as currently constituted. And you took Matisse Thybulle in the first round a few years ago, and while he hasn't been able to develop that three, he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire NBA. So that right there, a big swing and a miss for Daryl Morey, who, look, I give him credit because he gets creative with how he makes these deals. We'll see what he does with James Harden as well as Tobias Harris, and I think that he's gotten pretty good value with some of the trades that he's made. He traded Josh Richardson when his value was so low for Seth Curry, who comes in and is a great dribble handoff partner next to Joel Embiid, shooting more than 40% from beyond the arc. And he traded, Al Horford and got rid of that contract. He traded an injured Danny Green for DeAnthony Melton. So he's made some good deals, but this one goes down as a swing and a miss for Daryl Morey. Let's round out today's show with the latest on Damian Lillard here. Adrian Wojnarowski saying this today, that the Portland Trail Blazers do not plan to cooperate with Damian Lillard on his trade request to the Heat. It's been said, and it's well documented, that Dame wants to play for Miami. And Jimmy Butler, after they lost in the NBA Finals, went up to Pat Riley, went up to Eric Spoelstra and said, Damian Lillard is the number one trade target for us this offseason. So Miami has been putting its ducks in a row to try to land Dame. Dame has been said to be reaching out to Heat players over the last few days, and he's made it clear that's the team that he wants to go to. But Portland is looking at this from this standpoint, right? Are we going to appease Dame and not take the best deal? Or are we going to take the best deal? And even though Damian Lillard has been loyal to us for so long, we have to have the best interests of this organization in mind. And we can't give in to the loyalty of Damian Lillard and just trade him to Miami because he spent all this time with Portland just because that's where he wants to go, and then we don't get the best trade package back. I was live on NBA Now by Chat Sports yesterday for day 2 of free agency, and I was like, look, Portland, Damian Lillard has had a terrific career, and his loyalty is something special. What he did for that organization was great, but you have to get the best trade package back, and I don't think the Miami Heat, without a third team, which I think has to be included legally and in general, can offer the Blazers the best semblance of players and or draft picks. So now you have all these teams, including Philadelphia, lining up to try to trade for Damian Lillard. Sixers are said to still have interest, and they're also willing, according to reports, to maybe step in as a third team to get that deal completed, even if it means Dame is going to go to Miami, a team that's in the way of the Sixers' title hopes. If that means that deal can get done so that the Sixers can offload James Harden and trade him somewhere else. I'm fascinated, and I mean fascinated to see what Daryl Morey is going to be able to get back for a guy who's going to be 34 years old, signs of decline. He's pouting his way out of another organization and had another playoff no-show again. As for the Sixers draft assets for Damian Lillard, and let me throw this out there too, if the Sixers are one of those third teams that allows Dame to go to Miami and they get rid of James Harden, is there any way that the Sixers could get a player like Tyler Hero, and then you have Maxey and Hero as your backcourt? That's a guaranteed 40, 45 points per night. Hero can't play defense, but offensively, you're at least replacing some of that production that you lose with James Harden going elsewhere. So that's a name I think that I would really try to call about in Tyler Hero, a young asset as well. Sixers draft assets that they can give up for a Damian Lillard trade if they're still interested. And I would really be hesitant about giving up Tyrese Maxey, blossoming superstar, 22 years old, for a player who's older. I just worry about that because I think Maxey has so much potential. And I think that Portland wants Maxey in a deal. And if they don't get Maxey in a deal, they're saying no to Daryl Morey. But Sixers draft assets here. Own first-round pick in 2030, first-round pick swap 2024, 2029, and 2030. 3 future second-round picks available to trade. As for cash, $7.1 million to send or receive. And then the Sixers player assets that they can facilitate to Portland or another team in a Dame trade. Tobias Harris, $39.3 million this year, unrestricted free agent. James Harden at $35.5 unrestricted free agent in 2024. Same with Toby. You have PJ Tucker, $11 million, player option for 2024, 2025. DeAnthony Melton, very good bench piece, fringe starter, $8 million, partial guarantee, unrestricted free agent in 2024. You have Furkan Korkmaz, if somebody's looking for a shooter who believes that they can maybe tap into what he's shown at moments, $5.4 million. Unrestricted free agent next year. Daniel House, unrestricted free agent in 2024. And then Tyrese Maxey, a restricted free agent in 2024, $4.3 million. That's one of the best bargain deals in the NBA for this season alone. And then you also have Jaden Springer, $2.2 million, also a restricted free agent, but in 2025. So those are the trade assets that the Sixers could put together for Damian Lillard, either straight up or to another team out there. So we're going to continue to cover everything on the 76ers front. They've been somewhat silent so far. They've only signed Patrick Beverley, so there are obviously some moves that are still left to be made for the Sixers. James Harden trade, Tobias Harris trade, whatever they do in NBA free agency. That's why you got to subscribe to the show. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of you enjoy your Sundays and the start to your week tomorrow. And if the Sixers make a big move, we're going to do a video. And if they make a trade of Toby or Harden, we're going to be going live. So that's why you subscribe, turn on those noties.